You've tuned into The Mountain Gardener with your host, Ken Lain. Gardening, it can be challenging, but with these simple insider tips, you'll reap huge rewards. Now, let's tune into today's Mountain Gardener with Ken and Lisa. And welcome to this week's edition of The Mountain Gardener. Your host, Ken Lain, here every week, talking about the landscapes of northern Arizona. And we are definitely into autumn here. We're a month into this thing. And so you're starting to feel that. You can smell autumn. It's in the air. You can feel it in the morning. It's got the Christmas to it. Yes, it gets a little warm every once a week, but it's starting to cool down. Now, you need to be aware if you've got tomatoes, that those summer vegetables. In fact, this weekend we might see some frost events. So it's going to get in that 30s. So 32, you start to see death and decay. So things that don't have any antifreeze in them, you'll start to see this black leaves on the tops of the plants. If you can cover those, you can protect them and get an extra week, 2, sometimes a month out of them. Or if they're in containers, you can move them into your greenhouse, move them into your garage. You can put them where they're insulated at night. It's going to be that late, really early morning. That's when you see that coldest temperature. What'll happen is it'll flash freeze. It'll be 32 for a moment, and then it's right back warm again because it's early yet. So our average frost date for the mountains, at least here in Prescott, Arizona, is October 29. Now, it might be a couple days later for you folks in Prescott Valley, the Chino Valleys. It might be a little bit sooner than that for Highland Pines, obviously Groom Creek, those areas. And so, but on average, all of us, Paulden, you're the same as us. Skull Valley, Kirkland, you're the same. You're not that special. We're all about the end of October to the first part of November. That's when we're going to Sedona, Camp Verde, Cottonwood. You all think you're so special over there. You're basically going to be in the next couple of weeks. You're going to see some frosty, or chances are, if you've got that tomato plant that's got just loaded with green tomatoes, you should have some sheets, frost cover, something breathable to cover those plants. In fact, you might even do it this weekend because we're in that 30s, which means if you're on the north side of that hill, you're going to see colder climate than the person on the south side or the east side. If you're down in the valleys, you're going to have all that cold air settles. That's why the Verde River, that cold air just settles and flows down that river, and it gets cold down there. Yeah, you might be one zone warmer, but basically it gets cold. You're 4 seasons, just like the rest of us. So you want to have some breathable material, not plastic, not a tarp, but breathable sheets. Frost cover is ideal. Cover those things just for the evening. And then, a couple of days from now, this will all be over. It'll blow over and it'll be just fine. So you'll get nice weather again. And then we'll have a couple, 10 days of nice weather. And then we'll have another cold event. It will be not just a late frost. It'll be now a harder freeze. Then it'll get nice again. And then we'll get another harder freeze. We'll do this till towards the end of the year, December. Then we might get a light snow. It's just kind of the way it works. We're 4 seasons, but it's super mild. And that's why you can grow things right kind of 12 months out of the year. And so if you're thinking about planting some winter vegetables, now is the time. Put them in now. Put your kales, your cabbages, your cauliflower, your Brussels sprouts, put the lettuces in now so they've got time to bulk up. If you're thinking about color, let's say flowers, now is the time to plant your pansies. Now is the time for violas, your flowering kales. Now is the time. Echinaceas, now. So put them in while you've still got some time to root. The soil's still warm. And so what will happen is it might actually happen this weekend where your garden's vaporized. You get this black mush as those plants that don't have antifreeze in them, as they freeze, they turn black and they just kind of melt. So it's also a good reason why it's time to plant like evergreens, like pine trees. This is the peak time. I thought I'd spend a moment instead of thinking about frost and frost dates. You've already heard that. What are the 7 best pine trees you can grow now? And you got to start with number 1, ponderosa pine. We just had some beautiful, stunning ponderosas. It's the pine needles. It has the longest needles of all the pines. And of course, we've got natural forests. From the largest ponderosa pine forests in the country are right here. So you know they're going to adapt. The question comes up, can I grow it in Prescott Valley where they don't naturally grow? Yes, you can. You just might have to put some irrigation to it. Can I grow it in Camp Verde? Yeah, you can, as long as you put drip irrigation on it. Can I grow it in Chino Valley? Yes, as long as you put drip irrigation. You got to modify for the clay soils and stuff, but you can modify the environment, especially gardeners, where you can grow it, and it's the fastest growing of the pine trees. One that's even more adaptable are pinyon pines. This is the shorter needle native that grows here. I get the pine nuts from it. In fact, single needle pinyon pine. That's one I would grow if it were my yard, because it's hardier. It's got a chubbier needle, and you can get the pine nuts off of it sooner than the single leaf. So it's kind of there's two types you can grow here. And so I'd do that one. Those are the two natives that grow wild. My favorite of all the long needled pine trees are the Austrian pine. It looks like a ponderosa, has long needles, but it holds its foliage right down to the ground. It's magnificent. From a designer standpoint, I'd much rather plant one of those than a ponderosa, which is basically a trunk. The foliage is up there. Well, from designing, I want to have that foliage right down to the ground. Nice central leader, big swooping branches, long needles to it. The Austrian's a better one. It's tall, not like the 80-foot tall, 100-foot tall ponderosas, but it gets 35 feet pretty easily. That can still be too large for some yards. So then we have the Oregon green pine. It looks very much like an Austrian, but it's a click shorter. It's still rich green, nice central leader, big swooping branches, nice long, it just looks really good, but it only gets now into the mid-20s. Then you've got to step down from that. You've got Bosnian pine. It looks very much the same. Long needle, nice green, nice trunk to it, big swooping branches, but now it only gets into the high teens. And so you've got different steps. And so you've got ponderosa pine, the biggest, then Austrian, then Oregon green, and then you've got Bosnian pines. They're all equally as hardy, equally as tough, both evergreen, as they're going to hold their foliage year round. Both have they just look like they fit here in the mountains of Arizona. And then the last one, Vanderwolf pine. Vanderwolfs are, for you folks in the Midwest, East Coast, it's a variation of an eastern white pine. It's a white pine variation, really soft needles. What I like about that one is the needles are two-toned. They're blue, not green. I mean, like rich silvery blue. It's really nice. And you can't go by it without touching it because it's so soft. But it looks decorative, more designer-esque, because the top of the needle is blue. The bottom is white, like silvery color. So you get this two-toned color. Very interesting, very drought hardy. In fact, any of these that I just mentioned, ponderosa, Scotch, Austrian, Oregon green, Bosnians, Vanderwolfs, if you killed, it'll be from overwatering. The pine trees need to have air at their roots, and then they give off air up top. They can take on whatever cold comes their way. What they need is a soil that drains and perks. If you give them that, they'll thrive. I don't care what elevation you're dealing with. As long as you come out of Black Canyon City, up the hill to Cordes Junction and beyond, they're going to do exceptionally well. I have to put a caveat there. Stay away from, these are you folks from Phoenix, Tucson, those areas. You're used to your Goldwater pines, those long needle pines that grow down there. They also grow up here, but not very well. I never sell them at the garden center, at least here at Waters Garden Center. You'll find them at box stores and stuff, but there's a rust, there's a disease that is a host from the oak trees that carries over to the pine trees. And so they live for just a few years, and they get this orangey coating to them, and they collapse and die. You really don't want to plant that in your yard. They'll grow. They say they grow. You read the tag, it says it's grow. But I'm telling you, as one gardener, my name's Ken, we're just friends talking over the fence. I would not plant that myself, because you're going to have issues, because we've got so many oak trees just throughout the area, and it just blows across the plains and gets on your pine trees and causes issues. So stay with your locally higher altitude pine trees, and you're going to thrive and look great for decades. They'll outlive you and I combined. All right, so that's it for this segment.
Water's October companion plants that grow well together are blaze maple, burning bush, spicy mums, and glamour kale.
Few flowers are more elegant in fall than Water's glamour kale.
The autumn colors are perfect for containers, beds, and borders.
And it's so easy to grow.
This unique Prescott selection is an award winner for cold hardiness, intense red, purple flowers in a frilly package.
You'll find bright fall flowers here at Water's Garden Center in Prescott. For a more fruitful garden, increased success in the landscape that just feels better, then tune in daily to the Mountain Gardener podcast. Subscribe through your favorite podcast streamer or visit watersgardencenter.com. Better yet, visit me directly right here at Water's Garden Center. Thanks for tuning in.